What is up, guys? Dylan here, and in today's video I'm riding the 2022 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. I want to give a shout out to Myers-Durham Harley-Davidson in Tulsa, Oklahoma for bringing me out and letting me ride this bike. I also want to give a shout out to Harley-Davidson for letting people, everybody, not just me, come out and ride these machines and make educated decisions on whether or not they want to make purchases, because these bikes are a lot of money, and being able to throw a leg over something like this before you buy it, that's fantastic. I encourage every manufacturer to do this, and I'm thankful that Harley-Davidson trusts me with something that costs over $20,000 MSRP to get out there and ride on. My first impressions of the bike. First off, I had to redub this because it was crazy windy that day, and well, you guys would not have liked the audio that you were going to experience. My first impressions of it, right here, getting on the highway for the first time, or getting up to highway speeds almost. Excellent acceleration, plenty of power down low. I'm a sport bike rider, guys, so I know what fast is. I know what acceleration is. I've ridden motorcycles that accelerate faster than million-dollar supercars, okay? I'm telling you, this bike's got plenty of grunt down low. It's really enjoyable. The performance is there. Is it super sport fast? No, it is not, but it is plenty quick to get on the highway. You're not going to have a problem getting in and out of traffic, and that's an important safety feature in my opinion. When you ride something that's underpowered and you can't get away from the cars around you, it can get you into tight spots. This bike definitely has it down low, and it's really fun to get on the throttle and experience the massive torque that the bike offers. It's great. Like, I really love torque more than I love horsepower, because torque is fun. Horsepower will get you into trouble. Take it from me. I know from experience. It's funner to have that bottom end torque to just burst forward and get up to speed, and it'll put a big smile on your face, and this bike did a fantastic job of doing that. We're coming to a stop right now, so it'd be a good time to talk about the brakes and kind of the low speed handling characteristics. Harley has got this thing set up really fantastic. The braking on it is excellent. It will stop, and it is very controlled while doing so. The brakes aren't overly grabby. They just apply, and they feel very natural, and it feels really good. At low speed, you can control the bike. The low center of gravity and the tire size that Harley has this thing set up with really allow it to turn and be an extension of yourself as a rider. It's very confidence inspiring at every speed. It's nice to see a motorcycle that you can get on having not ridden it many times, and it becomes an extension of yourself. It just feels very natural to you. It feels right. It feels safe. It doesn't feel foreign. There's no learning curve. You can just jump on it and ride it. This bike is set up very well, and it allowed me to do that, and that's a great thing from a manufacturer, to be able to provide a bike that is that comfortable right out of the gate when you're not used to riding something like this. I'm used to riding sport bikes, sport touring bikes, dirt bikes, things of that nature, and this bike is very confident, or I was very confident on it, and it felt very natural and good to be on it. At highway speeds, this thing was fantastic. If I had to complain about anything, I'd say the windscreen's a little short. I'm 6'3", I'm almost 300 pounds. I'm a big boy. I set a little high for this bike. I would extend the windscreen on it. If I had to nitpick something, it would be that. Very controlled on the highway. Suspension was great. I'm a big boy, like I said, and it handled great on the highway. It soaked up all the bumps. It literally felt like this bike was designed for someone like me while I was on it. A fat guy. And it just did everything that I would expect from a motorcycle, and it did it very easily. It did it without any effort. It felt like there wasn't a lot of input required from me to do the things I wanted to do on the bike. It allowed me to focus on the environment around me, the cars, where I was headed, rather than focus on trying to control the bike. Everything just kind of felt natural and smooth, which was great. It shifted nice, had a very mechanical thunk whenever it would shift, as you would expect from this type of motorcycle. Not smooth like, a quick shift on a sport bike. I mean, it was very mechanical whenever you would shift on it, but it felt very nice. On highway speed, the bike was incredibly controlled. I mean, it just effortless gliding at about 2,000 RPMs. I kind of feel like at 65 miles an hour, that 2,000 was a little low. It had a little bit of vibration to it, but once you pick it up to about 2,200 RPMs, man, it was just sailing. And anytime I would go up into the 70 mile an hour range, it was just very, very happy in top gear, cruising on the highway, and it had tons of torque down low, so you could just whack the throttle and get gobs of acceleration out of it. I mean, the motor's definitely big enough for the machine. It's big enough for a bigger rider. It's got plenty of torque to carry it down the road. It was really hard for me as an experienced motorcycle rider. I can usually nitpick things pretty heavily and find things I don't like about a motorcycle, but there really wasn't anything that I didn't like about this motorcycle other than its price tag. It's just a little expensive for my blood. $22,000, $23,000 for a bike, that's a lot of money to me. Personally, you know, for a toy, for something I take out on the weekends, I mean, it's definitely an experience. It put a smile on my face. I enjoyed every minute of being on it. I really can't find many things I didn't like about this motorcycle. Coming from the other side of the fence, you know, sport bikes, sport touring, things like that, usually sport bike riders are like, oh man, these things are slow, they don't handle very well. That's not the case. This bike's got tons of acceleration down. It's got the torque down low to get you up to speed. You do have to shift it a little early, which is unnatural for me. It's just the characteristics of that type of motor. You got to think about bore and stroke. I don't want to bore you with the details of how engines work, but as you can see right here where I'm at in the video, I can dip this thing down well past 45-degree lean angle and really use the sidewall of the tire confidently, and it just feels very natural, very planted, very safe, very solid going around the corner. You can tell the rubber's hooking up to the road and you're not going to slip out. You can even put the power down while you're in the middle of the turn, and there's enough meat on that tire, and the tire's the right size that it will just hook and book through the corner. And it was very natural to lean it over. Like, you would think a big heavy bike like this wouldn't want to lean, it would fight you. That's not the case. Harley's got it set up really well. The tires are the right size on this machine. They allow it to do what it needs to do, and it's very nimble. The center of gravity being as low as it is, it's very, very nimble for a big bike. You don't really feel the weight on it. At least I don't. If you were a smaller rider, you might, but someone my size, it felt natural. It felt like the bike was built for me. Being 6'3", almost 300 pounds, this bike, just the suspension, the way it handled my weight, everything just felt right. There wasn't really a lot I could complain about. I don't make these videos to complain, but I do like to nitpick things when I don't feel good on a bike. I've had enough experience that I can usually tell right away when there's something I don't like about a motorcycle. Every time I would do something on this motorcycle or use it or, you know, continue to ride it, I didn't feel like there was a really negative drawback to it. The mirrors were actually wide enough that they were usable. I could see behind me. They didn't have any vibration. The motorcycle felt well built, solid, put together. I mean, it wasn't rattly. It didn't feel cheaply made. I mean, it felt really solid and good, and you just enjoy riding it. And you can focus on riding and getting where you're going rather than like its systems. Everything just kind of blended perfectly, and me and the bike kind of became one really quickly. Everything meshed really nice. There wasn't a real big learning curve, other than like I always forget how to start a Harley-Davidson. I know it's a little embarrassing, but like in the center stack right there between the bars, you have to turn where the key would go to the right, and then on the right hand controls, that's how you actually start the motorcycle. It is a little bit of a learning curve figuring out where all the different systems are of the bike. But it's pretty intuitive. As I was going down the road, I was able to figure out how to change the radio station and increase the sound just with my left thumb there, which is pretty awesome. I was able to figure that out without having anyone explain it to me. That's how easy the bike was to figure out, which is really nice that it was set up that way. I personally didn't pay attention to the fuel economy on it, but I imagine it's not too bad because your RPMs are down low. I'm sure you can go pretty far on it. I'm sure it's got a 5 or 6 gallon tank on it, but it was a really enjoyable experience all around. Lots of power, a lot down low. I didn't really wing it out, you know, rev it up high, because that's not it's not my toy, and that's not really what it's meant to be for. I didn't want to like abuse somebody else's thing because it was a gift, you know. I'm able to go out there and ride it for free, so I want to respect it. But it handled very well. Like coming to a stop right here, I could stop the motorcycle without putting my feet down, almost hover in the air for a second with my feet up, and then set my feet down. Incredibly stable coming to a stop. I mean, a very well-rounded good motorcycle. At $23,000, it's, like I said, a little rich for my blood. But if you've got the money and you enjoy cruisers, you like the way a Harley-Davidson looks, personally, I think the styling's a little bit dated on them. I would love to see a more modern version of a Harley. I know it's like, we're talking about a brand here. This is their look, this is their style. They've had it for a long time. They're probably going to be a little scared to start changing it, but their age demographic is changing too. I'm a younger person. I'm getting into that point in my life where I do have a little bit more disposable income, and I could start looking into bikes like this, but I like the way a more modern motorcycle looks. I like the most modern features a motorcycle can have. Not that this bike doesn't have them. It has traction control, it has anti-lock braking, all that good stuff. But it just feels old school. It feels good, but it feels old school when you're on it, And I mean, that's the idea. That's their branding. That's their image. It's just not my cup of tea. But coming from a sport bike and getting on a Harley-Davidson, a cruiser, a big heavy road hog, it felt good. It felt like it had power. It handled really well. It stopped really well. It felt amazing to set on. Just very ergonomic for someone my size. Very comfortable. I feel like I could go eat up miles on this thing. I could ride it all damn day and not be fatigued. That windscreen did a fantastic job. That batwing fairing, it did a fantastic job of keeping the bulk of the wind off my body. Again, I'm a little tall for it, and I got a lot of buffeting on my helmet, and it was insanely windy this day. That's another thing I can talk about, is the fact that it was very controlled on the highway. Even though it was an insanely windy day, the weight of this bike really helped push it through that wind and make it, again, less fatiguing. It just kind of tracked in a straight line and went where your eyes were looking, which is really nice. A confidence-inspiring motorcycle. I can't say a lot of negative things about it other than the price tag, but if you're buying a Harley, you kind of know what you're getting into. I would say for the money, there's probably a better Japanese alternative. I'm a big fan of the Japanese bikes. I would probably lean that direction if it was me. But if you're looking for something that says Harley-Davidson, if you're looking for American, you want to hear that big thumping cam, that nice performance exhaust, this S model of the Street Glide was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. We're pulling back into Myers-Dern right now here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're about to. So I'm going to end this video with this. What do you think about the 2022 Harley-Davidson? Are you considering getting one? Do you already have a Harley-Davidson? Are you a sport bike rider that has ridden, that's looking to transition into the cruisers? Are you a cruiser rider that's looking to transition into the sport bike realm? I think that this motorcycle is enjoyable no matter who you are. If you can afford it, if it's in your budget, I don't think you'll complain about this motorcycle. I think you'll enjoy every minute you're on it, and I don't think it's a bad decision. I found very little that I disliked about this motorcycle, and I tried out a few different Harleys today, and this is definitely one of my favorites. I think the Street Glide is very well set up. I think it's a good around town motorcycle, and I think it can fill the role of a highway cruiser. That's all I have. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next one.